Terry, walk us through some of these cases over the last few days. I mean, just an absolute from Planned Parenthood to this case out of Maryland where they allow parents to pull students out of LGBTQ. Did I get all that right? I'm not even sure. XYZ, LMNOP, ZYXWVUT, SRQPO, and MLK, JHD, FED, CBA. But I want to know what a huge victory this is for the American people and for conservative organizations like yourselves.
Well, again, thanks so much for having me, Jack. I've always been a huge fan of yours from day one. Listen, I would say the American family is 3-0 this Supreme Court term. We had a huge victory with the Skermetti case just about 2 weeks ago, or I'm sorry, last week, where the Supreme Court upheld the right of states to protect children from gender transition procedures. But today, Mahmoud versus Taylor rules that parents have a right to opt their children out of sexually charged curriculum and programs in schools. But on top of that, parents have the right to know about it. Right at the heart of this case, the government activists, the anti-family activists that are in so many of our government-run schools, were essentially arguing that not only do parents not have the right to opt their children out of these sexually charged programs in schools, but they don't even have the right to know about it. Right, that they are trying to keep this stuff from parents. And it's just absolutely insane, Jack. Not only can parents constitutionally protect their children, parents must protect their children from sexually charged content. That is our duty as parents. And if you're a parent that doesn't protect your children from sexually charged content, and these books are graphic, I just want to assure you, you open up those books and you read some of the passages, Jack, you and I couldn't read them without laughing in front of our friends, but our mothers would be blushing and absolutely appalled by the content in these books. They are so graphic. But these are, and then I will say, Jack, I just got to throw this out there. Supreme Court gave us another victory today. We had two major victories for the family. In the Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton, the Supreme Court ruled that states have the right to pass age verification when it comes to porn sites online to protect children. So I'm saying this term, the American family is 3-0, and we need to keep that momentum going.
And this is incredible because, by the way, Terry, what we should do is the next scorecard you guys should point out is the Supreme Court justices who have children and the way that they voted on the parents' issues. Yes. We're getting in trouble now. But you know what? Fine, we're getting all sorts of trouble today, but we can because that's what we do when we take a W. But this actually is a huge issue, I think, for a lot of politicians when they say, oh, well, it's better if the children view things this way. And to your point, though, if you're someone who doesn't have children, if you're someone who just looks as children as young creatures to be molded by the state, then you wouldn't have any problem with this whatsoever. But if you have your own children, it is something that fundamentally changes you. And by the way, I'm not knocking people who don't have kids. I'm just saying that when you are a leader of a society, it is very important for you to make those decisions because you understand the reverberations and the consequences for forthcoming generations. And the way that you raise kids is a huge part of that.
No, Jack, that's exactly right. And listen, we hear all the time from these identitarians who are, you can't pass this law without the black community. They're all about identity, except when it comes to the family, except when you have your own children. That's the only time where according to the left, if you have your own children, that's the only time where you have no say over what those children can learn, right? And the reality is that parents have the fundamental right to raise and form their children, and that's what the Supreme Court decision brought forth. And one thing I do want to point out, it's just because it's so rare, but this case was led by a Muslim family, right? And I think that there are so many differences, obviously, between the Christians and the Muslims in terms of what we believe. But at the heart of every major religion, and you don't even have to be religious about this fight to protect children, at the heart of everyone, you can be secular, you can be atheist, you can be Buddhist, whatever, everyone knows how important it is to protect children from being sexualized. Everyone, except for radical LGBTQ, A, B, C, D, E, F, G activists. It's very common sense, it's very obvious, and it's very popular.
Well, and by the way, a lot of people point out too as well for these types of activists that this is the way in which their ideology is reproduced because they don't end up having kids of their own, so they've got to reproduce through ideology. They've got to import their ideology into young children and increasingly younger and younger, and they view this as their role in society. This part, by the way, actually, Terry, let me throw you a curveball on this because I just saw that Senator Slotkin out of Michigan was saying something earlier today regarding K to 12, and I threw out my comment on social media, and it's related to this, and it got started this fierce debate. So it's sort of our question of the day. So question of the day, she says all phones should be banned from classrooms for K to 12. So 1776 at humanevents.com, 1776 at humanevents.com, weigh in. And now I get people want to say the knee-jerk response is, well, of course they should be, right? Obviously. However, what about for teachers that are introducing stuff in like this in the classroom, teachers that are being political, teachers that are teaching sexually charged, agendas in the classroom going far beyond? This was actually one of the silver linings of COVID because we were able to parents were finally able to look over their kid's shoulder to see what the teacher was teaching on those Zoom classes. So Terry, what do you think? It's actually kind of an interesting question. How do you hold teachers accountable without having the phone?
Well, so listen, I'm really kind of torn on it because I definitely would have been one of the kids sneaking my phone into school and recording my teacher to hold them accountable, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if your government officials won't do anything, if your city council won't do anything, law enforcement won't do anything, well, then it's kind of in our hands to protect ourselves. I will say, Jack, I have been on an anti-tech tear recently. It is wreaking havoc. My family and I, we just spent a week in Wyoming, right outside of Cody, and we had no reception, none. And it was the best week we've had as a family in quite some time. We climbed mountains, we rode horses through rivers. I mean, we get so disconnected from the real world. I would like to ban cell phones almost for everyone in this world because it is so distracting. And you'd be surprised at how much work your cell phone actually is for you and how much of a burden it really truly is at the end of the day. It was shocking how tough it was to go back to civilization and just to get back up and get caught up with all the messages. We are constantly inundated by being contacted by people. And on most of the time, it's complete strangers we've never even met in our entire life. It's overwhelming.
Well, no, and by the way, too, and I do this on Sundays are sort of my either I call it my low tech day now at this point, my low connectivity day. I try to be off my phone as much as possible. During Lent, I was doing no cell phone at all on Sundays, or at least no social media or texting, right? You could, look up directions or something like that. That'd be fine. But, it's takes up way too much of your time, and it ends up taking away it distracts you from things that are in front of your face, like to your point, family, or just connecting with your loved ones, or whatever it is that you might actually also be doing. And that's, this low tech environment. That's what that provides. By the way, I'd be remiss if I hadn't mentioned that another APP priority that you guys have been fighting for a while also passed at the Supreme Court, and that was regarding pornographic websites and saying that states can actually regulate on the basis of age for that. Walk us through that case.
So essentially, we're up to 23 states now that have passed age verification. And what this does is it says to porn companies, hey, before you deliver obscene and violent and disgusting content to anyone, you have to verify that they're actually 21. We've been trying so hard to protect minors from pornography online, at least since 1997, which is essentially the advent of the internet. That's where the Communications Decency Act comes in. But the Supreme Court has been striking down all of these proposals to rein in the porn industry until today. Right. Today is a beautiful day because those 23 states that passed age verification to protect minors from porn online, they were vindicated. It's constitutional to mandate that porn companies who make billions of dollars a year must be required to verify the age of users prior to giving them content. Jack, this isn't very hard. This isn't even like a very heavy lift for them. It's incredibly cheap. Every single adult-oriented business that's online verifies age. The nicotine guys verify age. The gambling guys verify age. The weed guys verify age. The alcohol guys everyone online verifies age so that we're not giving this content to minors except for the porn industry. And that changed today. So now what we need to do, Jack, is we need to get some federal legislation passed to protect minors all across the country. There's no reason why children in California should not be protected by pornography just because they have a horrific and terrible and embarrassing governor like Gavin Newsom.